My name is James Curtis, and I am part of Group 2, and today we'll be talking about Uber and the downfall of Uber and what problems helped cause that. Uber was founded in 2009 out of California. It was the first in its field to really innovate the ride-sharing app and to make it really convenient for consumers to just, with a couple click of a buttons, to get a ride from somebody they don't know from point A to point B. Because of that, many analysts from CNN, Fox News, and other news stations stated that this is the fastest growing business that they have ever seen. The mission statement of Uber is that Uber Technologies is a peer-to-peer ride-sharing taxi cab and food delivery, bicycle sharing, and transportation network company headquartered in San Francisco, California, with operations in 785 areas worldwide. Because Uber was really the pioneer of this, there wasn't a lot of other companies for them to benchmark. So because of this, when Uber made mistakes, they didn't really know that they were making mistakes. So some of the problems that Uber has faced when they first started and now is that ranging from the culture, the competition, customer safety, loss of revenues, leaving foreign markets, and failed projects. The main two problems that we're going to focus on today is the rise of competition in the ride-sharing app field, and then also the culture that the CEO and other top execs have made.
Hello, I'm Matt Rode, and the first issue today we're going to be talking about with Uber is their ability to make ethical decisions. So in companies today, it's very common for them to have access to your personal information, and this can include your name, address, phone number, and as a client of a company, you trust that your information will be stored and kept safely. And this relates to Uber's first issue where two hackers broke into an Uber database in 2016 and stole information from about 57,000 individuals. And this came from their clients and even from people who worked with the company. This information included addresses, names, phone numbers, and even driver's license numbers. This showed how management had to make an unprogrammed decision when Uber's CEO paid off the hackers. They, however, are required by law to tell customers, employees, and law enforcement of the data breach. And this relates to customers' concerns that if Uber cannot continuously make ethical decisions, then they're going to lose their customers as they lose the trust. So now we have steps to change. And first, the company needs to address issues related to information safety and their company's ethical code. They need to go publicly apologize for why and how the situation was handled in the way that it was. The CEO of Uber can claim that it was an ethical decision by saying that he paid the hackers to quickly erase all the information that was stolen. They need to address company concerns and how they will resolve them by contacting the public and seeing how they are concerned about the company. They must ensure the safety of information in the future, and they need to show how they will continue to make ethical decisions in the future to.
Uber has been known to have been operating ethically with the obstructionist approach rather than the proactive approach. They have been doing this through choosing to unethically and illegally not inform their customers of the data breach that happened. And they also didn't protect their customers' private information with the utmost security in the first place, which is also unethical because the customers trusted them with this information. So to move from the obstructionist approach to the proactive approach, this will mean they will begin to behave as socially responsible as possible and seek out the interests of stakeholders and do their best to promote those interests. This will increase company performance and therefore overall satisfaction and quality of life for all of the stakeholders, most importantly the customers, but also the employees, and therefore the reputation and hopefully rebuilding of trust within Uber's company will increase. And to implement these changes within their ethical standards, They're going to have to retrain all the employees to learn these higher standards of ethics and how to deal with ethical dilemmas in the future, so no more non-programmed decisions have to be made so that a wrong decision wouldn't be made. To help make these decisions, they're going to have to implement ethical decision-making models, such as using the 4 ethical decision-making rules, the utilitarian, justice, moral rights, and practical rule. And also they can ask the questions from the practical decision-making model before they make those decisions, so they can decide whether or not their decisions are about to follow the 4 rules and overall just be more ethical. By acting with these higher standards of ethics and social responsibility, that means having the utmost security. So that means they're going to do whatever it takes to protect the customer's information, and that will be of the top priority. That means investing any resource necessary to do so, the time, effort, money, technology, all involved. And if a breach were somehow still able to happen, Uber will have a plan in place this time. These new ethics will need to be continually maintained and monitored to evaluate, to make sure that that's happening and that this is being implemented efficiently and effectively as possible. Control systems will need to be put into place. Because this is a continuous process, the control systems will need to be utilized throughout every stage of the evaluation process, which includes feed-forward control, concurrent control, and feedback control. During the concurrent control, this is where they'll establish their goals and how to achieve those goals. The goals are to behave ethically, rebuild trust, rebuild reputation, and this in turn will increase customer satisfaction and company performance. These are all standards that can be measured and evaluated. And then in the concurrent stage of control, they will ensure that all of the new ethics are being taught and that all of the employees are following the rules. This will be done through behavior control, and accomplish that through having set rules and standard operating procedures to be followed. And this could be maintained for a while by direct supervision just to make sure everything's running smoothly. And to keep these ethics in check for years to come, they will have to use clan control by setting up ethical values deep into the company's culture so that it's just natural for Uber to be associated with ethics. And then in feedback control, customer satisfaction surveys will need to be sent out to see the customer's perception on Uber, to see if it improved. And they should see an improvement in satisfaction. If not, Uber will improve its performance. These results are a measure of how Uber actually performs. They will compare this to how they expected to perform. From this comparison, Uber can evaluate the results and initiate corrective action if needed.
One of the largest problems with Uber is the rise of competition that is coming from its rivals. This is a quick reminder, back in 2009 when Uber premiered, it owned 91% of the rideshare market. But soon after, crisis struck. During the immigration block performed by Donald Trump, protesters went to the Kennedy Airport in New York City and protested. Along with the protesters, taxi drivers from New York City also decided not to pick up anyone from the Kennedy Airport for around an hour to an hour and a half. At this point, Uber sent out a notification on its social media and to all of its drivers stating that surge pricing was off. Surge pricing is a notification they send out when drivers can potentially make more money because of the need of rides. What ended up happening is that people saw this notification and assumed that Uber was taking advantage of the immigration crisis and taking advantage of the fact that protesters were at the Kennedy Airport. About the day after, Uber lost about 23% of the rideshare market just due to this crisis alone, and by the end of the week, Lyft was up to over 30% of the market, taking almost all of the percentages that Uber lost. Now, Uber hasn't recovered at all since this crisis, actually started to go down little by little. Lyft has been taking handfuls and handfuls of the rideshare market from Uber all the way up until present day, and if Uber isn't careful, Lyft will soon surpass it. Who is really to blame for this? A lot of people point at this immigration crisis, but also the lack of management or lack of professional management in Uber. A lot of the managers in Uber spend so much time fixing up weird crises and mistakes caused by by Uber that they don't focus on the future. But luckily, they could have a future if they followed some easy steps. One of the corrections that Uber needs to do to help fix its company is it needs to stay in its own lane. Uber is getting involved in politics and other non-ride sharing business oriented activities that is really taking away from what its company is, which is kind of a fancy taxi service. Next, it needs to come out and openly apologize for all the misdeeds and sexual harassment that's been floating around the company. As soon as they can get some of that behind it and apologize to anyone affected by it, it can start to heal. And finally, Uber needs to fix the past quickly and focus on the future. Uber spends so much time fixing and bandaging itself and all its past deeds that it has almost done nothing to grow as a company for future events. Uber doesn't do one of the most basic principles of business, which is data gathering or research. Uber doesn't send out surveys, ask for feedback, or send out polls asking for what customers want to see in the company coming up. It doesn't even do the basic stuff like copying what other rideshare companies do that's successful. Uber is so instrumented in its own company that if it's not careful, it'll soon fall behind Lyft and its rivals, and maybe by the end of the second decade, Uber may not even be a company anymore.
Uber has faced a lot of problems as a company. We think that the best thing that Uber should do is focus less on the competitors and more on their company so they can improve on things within their company. In 2014, Uber was accused of booking and canceling 5,560 rides with Lyft. Uber was doing this because they were trying to cut down Lyft's profitability and driver availability. As you could probably tell, Uber got in a lot of trouble for this, and they lost a lot of business because of this. As of April 2018, 103 Uber drivers were accused of sexual assault. This shows that Uber doesn't have the strongest background checks, and they are something that they need to improve on as a company. Improving background checks is one of many problems that they need to fix, but if they focus too much on competitors and cutting down their profits, and not enough on how to improve their own company, then they won't be able to move forward as a company. The first thing that needs to happen is they need to ask customers and drivers how to improve their service. Doing this, they can get feedback from the customers on how they can feel safer and how the service can run much better. The second thing that they need to do is implement customer suggestions and improve on technology. This will set them apart from competitors because they're actually implementing suggestions from customers on how to improve their app and their service. The last thing that they need to do is receive feedback from customers and drivers about the improvements. This shows that they're focusing less on the competitors and more on their company themselves and wanting to improve and work on it. After these changes are implemented, Uber needs to evaluate customer satisfaction and revenue. If they make the changes based off feedback from customers, then the customers should be happy with the results, and they should want to use the app a lot more. They can do this by sending out surveys to customers, and the customers can send it back, and Uber will take it into consideration. If they make changes that customers like, then their revenue should increase as a result because more people are seeing these changes and seeing that Uber is listening to the customers and things that they need to improve on, so the revenue should increase.
To conclude, Uber is facing a slew of problems. The main two problems right now are the culture of the management and the rise of competition in the field. The culture of the management is obviously one that is corrupt. We can see this by them not reporting that customer information has been leaked. That is something that we need to owe up to the public and apologize for. After that, we need to come up with a game plan to win consumer trust. Once we do that, we need to tell them what that plan is and what they should expect. Also, all employees should have code of ethics training that is newly written by the CEO and upper management positions. The other problem is that Uber is facing a rise of competitors in the field, but Uber should focus on what their problems are internally. If we're looking out the window at other companies and not what we're focused on, then we're not going to get better and fix our problem. If Uber fixes these problems, they can return to their former glory.